Hi, we are Team Paws and Tails, and this is our research and marketing presentation. My name is Andrew Mantilla, and as the team's producer, I was in charge of team communications, workflow planning, and task/commitment assignments, as well as design documentation for the development of the component interaction matrix and IPM chart. I also served as the team's primary tester.
My name is Nicholas Cope, and as the team's mechanic designer, I was in charge of the implementation of core functionality scripts, such as player control, custom game type, custom camera, and water volume physics.
My name is Michael Cusak, and as the team's primary artist, I was in charge of the world building for the level assets and textures, as well as Kismet and the matinee sequences.
My name is Marianne Guy, and as the team's primary in story, I was in charge of the characters, background, and themes in our game. I also was an assistant on scripting, Kismet, and world building tasks.
My name is Ricky Frenette, and as the team's primary in editing, I was in charge of the design documentation of our game, working with each member of the team on their individual sections and contributions. Of our three high concepts, we decided to go with Paws and Tails due to certain key features of the concept. Firstly, it was a game that we as a team had a lot of interest in developing, and also because it had the support of our instructors. We based our core mechanics around those of a top-down physics puzzle games, and found that the games focused on puzzle design allowed us to be creative and novel with the development of our level designs and components.
Paws and Tails are residents of Camp Ferkelberg, the wildlife preserve where our game takes place. Along their exploration of the preserve, Paws, an accident-prone old man, gets himself into incredible predicaments which Tails, our player character, must save him from. Tails is Paws' trusted canine companion, with the ability to pick up objects and send them down the river to Paws, and the ability to bark to scare away the meddlesome forest-dwelling creatures. The game's main theme and source conflict is player versus environment, the player having to work against nature in order to reach their goal.
Seen here are our first two maps. Our game world design is simple. The player stands on one side of the river and must deliver the package to Paws on the opposite side of the river by sending it downstream. The river's water volume physics allow for objects within the water to react dynamically as they float through the puzzle space. As the player experiments with order of operations and varying component interactions, they will be able to face increasingly difficult level challenges, which, due to our simplicity of our game world, we'll be able to implement in our level designs throughout all our levels. The strength and challenge of our game's design stems from our levels, as they are the primary way the player interacts with our mechanics as well as our primary way to develop flow and a sense of progress in the player experience.
With our game being based on puzzle mechanics and level design, our initial step was to develop our component interaction matrix, or CIM, to further understand the complexities of what we could do with our game. Each level will introduce the player to new components and/or interactions. We use the CIM in conjunction with our Introduction, Practice, Mastery, or IPM chart to plan how to best keep the player in flow as the player experience gets more interesting and challenging. As our game is rooted in puzzle mechanics, the point of the player's experience will be to focus on experimentation and problem solving to find unique solutions to the puzzle's design.
This is gameplay footage of Paws and Tails. The first mechanic that the player is introduced to during this prototype is the pickup mechanic. The player is able to pick up packages using the EP. The player is then able to send packages downstream by standing on the peninsula located in the river. By pressing E, the player is able to drop the package into the river. The dropped package is a K-actor. It is dropped into a water physics volume that forces all K-actors to be pushed to the left side of the screen. Once the package is successfully sent to Paws, you are able to continue to the next level. In the second level, players run into the mechanic of being able to also pick up logs. Logs are picked up using the EP. During gameplay, players will run into obstacles such as turtles, fishermen, and other wildlife that will help impede them sending packages to Paws. The player, however, is given the bark ability. By pressing spacebar, the player will bark and interact with obstacles around them. For example, this turtle is patrolling the river. When packages or logs are touched by the turtle will destroy them. By pressing bark, or spacebar, the turtle stops in its place, going underwater for a couple seconds, then resurfacing and patrolling the river once more. When the turtle is out of the player's way, the player will want to send logs and packages downstream. Also, using their bark during the same time so that they can successfully do this. Once the turtle has patrolled back up the stream, it is safe to send the package down the river. Again, once the package reaches Paws, the player has completed the level and is able to move on. Congratulations, you've sent the package to Paws.
When we began the project, testing was relatively straightforward. The issues were obvious and easily fixable. Issues such as improper scaling of assets, placeholder textures on brushes, and the fact that the player could escape the game world. Also, that movement control scripts had remnants of their first-person shooter heritage. Successfully recognizing, tracking, and reporting these issues to their respective team members was crucial and allowed us to implement fixes in following builds. We were able to use our build notes as a blueprint for issues that needed to be fixed and as a way of tracking our known issues over time. Thorough testing became difficult during crunch development weeks, however, as we learned early on that certain issues which seemed to be the easiest to solve could become legacy bugs if left unattended. For example, our player camera took us 2 builds to fully implement due to our specific design goals and the technical ability we had upon entering the project. Our design dictated the need for a full map view of the game, and we began with a top-down, third-person chase camera. Thus, what we assumed would be a simple task became one of deep research and technical development. Likewise, when developing our control system, we began with the UDK standard first-person shooter controls and had to strip back and repurpose functionality. We took the controls for the FPS jump functionality and used them for our bark ability, as the script was already established and the key binding is a known video game standard for PC controls. Removing the use of the mouse as an input device which determined the direction the player faced also became an issue that took several builds to resolve with a concerted team effort. When we started putting the design document together to plan out our design, a lot of the core elements came into focus relatively quickly. This allowed for us to focus on the challenges of the project, both technical and design related, that we would have to face in the following months. The time we have spent with the project so far has given us a much better understanding of the development process in the pre-alpha planning stages of development. Also, within our initial plans of development, we included the intention of releasing our game to the app market upon completion. As our game could be considered a casual physics puzzler, we believe that it will illustrate our understanding of the market trends we followed when developing our concept into a prototype and through to completion. This goal would also allow us to illustrate to potential employers our work via a published, playable product. Thank you again for watching our Team Paws and Tails presentation.